Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for checking us out today. And in today's episode, the Phils have split their first two games with the Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll talk about what's happened to get them to this point. It's another weird Sunday lineup for Rob Thomson. We'll discuss why I think he's doing it and why I think he shouldn't be. And finally, why patience is absolutely a virtue when it comes to the Major League Baseball trade deadline and the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll break it all down on today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Second year as your host of Locked On Phillies. Happy to be here. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, thank you for checking us out. If you're listening in podcast form, make sure you like, rate, review, all that good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching the video component. I think it's a great way to consume Locked On Phillies. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to the YouTube, Locked On Phillies on YouTube. I appreciate that very much. It really, really helps me out. Now, let's jump into today's episode. The Phillies have taken two games out of the series with the Pirates, but they've split them. So they've played two games, I should say. Worded that weird to start. They won game one. They lost game two. Both one-run games. Last night had an opportunity to come back, and we'll talk about Aaron Nola's performance and why I'm fed up with him. But let's start with game one, a 2-1 victory. It was very uneventful game for the Philadelphia Phillies. Only two scoring instances in this entire game. Kyle Schwarber hit a 2-run home run in the top of the third inning that would prove to be all the Phillies would need to win this one. And then Choi hit an RBI double in the fourth inning to cut the lead to 1, and then the Philadelphia Phillies just shut it down. Zach Wheeler ended up having a great day. He went 6 2/3 with 3 hits and 1 earned run, only 1 walk, 11 strikeouts for Wheels. And the bullpen was flawless. Jeff Hoffman, Greg Soto, Craig Kimbrell all got the job done. Kimbrell had a walk in the ninth inning as he went for the save, but Kimbrell goes ahead and locks down the save. It was his 17th on the year. The bullpens looked really, really good as of late when it comes to the past, let's say, month and a half. I don't know, maybe even longer than that. The Phillies bullpen is solid. When they get into the postseason, it's not an if. When they get into the postseason, that's going to be a huge asset for them. Kyle Schwarber had a nice day. He was 2 for 2 with that home run. But the rest of the lineup was kind of quiet, right? Bryce Stott was the only other multi-hit guy in the lineup. He went 2 for 4. JT had a hit. Alec Boehm had a hit. Brandon Marsh had a hit. But the 2, 3, 4 spots in the lineup were rough in game one. Trey Turner went 0 for 5. Bryce Harper 0 for 4. Nick Castellanos 0 for 4. We're going to talk more about Castellanos in game two. But bottom line is you got the job done, right? The pitching was great. It made the Pirates look like a lineup that should not be able to compete with the Philadelphia Phillies. Cool. You move on. You win. You give yourself a chance to win the series in game two. But unfortunately, it was an Aaron Nola night, and the Phillies could not get the job done. Now, the Phillies would lose this game 7-6. Aaron Nola's final line on his start was 4 2/3 innings pitched with 9 hits allowed, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, and only 6 strikeouts. Like, it was a terrible performance by Aaron Nola. And there were some defensive issues. Bryce Harper made his first error at first base in a big spot. Could have been a double play to help Aaron Nola get out of an inning. Brandon Marsh misplayed a ball in center field with the bases loaded, where he came in and he kind of got a little too close to the landing spot of the ball without being able to catch it. And it short hopped him and went by, and he had to go get it. And all 3 runs that were on the bases scored on that one. It was just, a nightmare of a 4th inning and 5th inning for Aaron Nola. He also gave up another home run because he does that every single start. This is why starting pitching to me is the most important add at the trade deadline, because I can't trust Aaron Nola day in and day out. I can't. And if you have somebody else in the rotation that you're not 100% sold on, you need to improve in that position. I love what Christopher Sanchez has done for this team this year in clutch spots, like playoff spots or down the stretch, we have to win this game spot. If you ask me, would I rather have Christopher Sanchez or Marcus Stroman? I'm going Stroman. Like, I'd rather go with a veteran pitcher than Christopher Sanchez, despite how good he's been this year. So that's a clean example of why I still think starting pitching is a need for this team to balance out the rotation. And Aaron Nola's contract year just gets worse by the day. It was really, really bad for him. And the offense, actually, a good fight from the Philadelphia Phillies offense-wise. Their pitching and defense didn't hold up their end of the bargain, but you score 6 runs against the Pittsburgh Pirates, you should be able to win. Looking at the numbers that people put up, Bryce Harper 1 for 5. Bryce Stott, another great day, 3 for 5. Trey Turner had a nice hit, 1 for 3. Brandon Marsh, 1 for 2. J.K., 1 for 2. Johan Rojas, 1 for 2. Again, the bottom of the order is what was really coming up big for the Phillies to fight and have them get back into this one. There was a point where the Philadelphia Phillies led 4-1 in this one. They were down 0-1 early, and then Brandon Marsh hit a 3 RBI double with the bases loaded, emptied the bases. Jake Cave hit an RBI double. It's 4-1. Like Nola's on the mound. Okay, as long as he doesn't implode, you're good. And then he did implode. 4th inning, you have an RBI double to Rodriguez. You give up an RBI single to Peguero, who's already homered in the 3rd inning. It's 4-3. And then in the 5th inning, Rodriguez an RBI triple to center. That was the Brandon Marsh play we're talking about. Possibly could have been ruled an error, single and an error. Actually, probably should have been, but they ruled it a triple. Whatever. 6-4 then, Pirates, and then Williams had an RBI single to center, also in the inning to make it 7-4. I mean, the bullpen, not bad for the Philadelphia Phillies. Junior Marte went a third of an inning. He allowed 1 hit, but he got out of it without an earned run. Matt Strahm, 2 innings pitched, nothing given up. Dylan Covey, 1 inning pitched, nothing given up. I mean, the bullpen is not the problem. The problem is Aaron Nola can't put together good starts consecutively. He refuses to be able to do it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's mentally, physically, but he is not a good pitcher this year. And I don't feel comfortable with him in any spot, whether you're playing the Pirates or you'll be playing the Braves in the NLDS. Like, it doesn't make a difference. I don't trust Aaron Nola right now. I don't know how you could. And I don't know what type of money he's going to command this offseason, but it drops every single time this guy takes the mound. It's insane, the inconsistency. I've never seen anything like it. And something that's become consistent that should not be consistent, I'll talk about this as well, not to just 100% harp on Aaron Nola, because there are other issues currently plaguing this team. The 2 spot in the lineup has been bad with Trey Turner there, and then the Phillies tried to switch Nick Castellanos there, and he's been in rough shape lately. He's down to batting .274 after an all-star start. He's been awful since the all-star break, and I worry that we're seeing last year Nick Castellanos come back. It's that outside breaking ball that he can't get to. He's in a rough stretch right now. Now, is it a couple of weeks slump, or is it him turning back into a pumpkin? I hope it's the former, because this team cannot afford to have Nick Castellanos fall off a cliff with Trey Turner already not hitting, Kyle Schwarber still hitting below 200, and some other struggles that this team is having. Like, they need people to pull their weight, and right now Nick Castellanos is not. He bought himself a little bit of time with that great first half that he had. So I'm not like down on Nick Castellanos' year. He's just in a rough stretch right now, and he needs to break out. He hasn't been able to as of yet in the second half, so that's something to keep an eye on. And Trey Turner still really hasn't had that breakout performance that you're looking for. He had a rough at bat, striking out with the bases loaded in this one. I mean, he's not clutch this year. He's not consistent this year. He's not productive this year. It's crazy. Here's the good news, right? Here's the upside. We're going to look at this in a positive. All this stuff that's going wrong. Nick Castellanos has been terrible at the plate in the second half. Trey Turner's done nothing for you. Kyle Schwarber had really bad stretches. JT Realmuto has been cold at points. Aaron Nola is inconsistent. The starting pitching started off really, really bad to start the year. The Phillies are still 56-48, and if you look at the standings, they're still currently sitting in the National League wild card in the second spot, half a game back from that top wild card seed. Now it's built up, right? There's a huge backup there in the National League wild card race. The Giants are a half game up on the Phillies. The Phillies and the Reds are even in the standings by win percentage. Miami's a half game out. Arizona's a half game out. The streaking Chicago Cubs are now 3 games out. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the mix right now for the wild card. And San Diego's not dead yet. They're 5.5 out. They need to make a run, but we'll see what happens with the trade deadline coming up on Tuesday. Who knows? They could significantly improve. They could sell. Like, everything could change around, but it's a stacked up race for the National League wild card. The Phillies are right in the mix, despite all of this stuff going wrong for the team. If they start to play to their potential again, like they did in the month of June and early July, well, they're going to run away with the top wild card seed. But they got to do that. And that's a lot. And it doesn't look like they're going to get a great opportunity to do so today when they take the field against the Pirates for the series ender. This lineup, and we're going to talk about it here in a second, that Rob Thomson put up, I warned you about this. I talked about this on the radio on 97.5 The Fanatic. I've mentioned it on the podcast. And we're seeing it now. It's kind of the product of where they're at in the schedule. Doesn't mean I have to like it, though. We'll discuss as we continue. Locked On Phillies. First, though, let me tell you about my friends over at eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle, right? Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million, not 122, not 122,000, no, 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time at all. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. So you can get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices. That's my favorite part. You want to get the stuff for what it's worth, or maybe even cheaper than you'd expect it to be worth, because eBay Motors is good at finding you deals and everything like that. Perfect. That works for me. The more money in my pocket, the better. So the right prices as well. You can find all of that on ebaymotors.com. eBay Motors, let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. All right, it's time for the Phillies to take on the Pirates. Game 3 of this series, and we have a lineup out. Now, this game, afternoon, of course, as most Sunday games are, 1:35 p.m. out there in the Steel City, Eastern Standard Time. On that first pitch time, the Phillies will take on the Pirates. You can listen to every pitch of the Phillies hometown radio broadcast of that game on the Sirius XM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies, and you can pull everything up there. Now, Christopher Sanchez is taking the mound for the Philadelphia Phillies. Still searching for that first win. He's got 2.98 ERA and a .97 whip. I mean, the guy deserves it, but frankly, the team has let him down just about every time he's taken the mound. And the lineup today looks like you could have more of that coming. So, listen to this. Kyle Schwarber leading off, playing left. Nick Castellanos still in the 2-hole despite majorly struggling. He's playing right field, obviously. Bryce Harper, if Kyle Schwarber is in left, you can bet Bryce Harper's DHing. He is today, batting third. No issue with that. Alec Boehm, batting cleanup, playing first base. Playing shortstop, Trey Turner, batting fifth. Edmundo Sosa is at third base today with Alec Boehm over at first. Josh Harrison is at second. Bryson Stott has the day off. Garrett Stubbs is catching. J.J. Realmuto has the day off. Johan Rojas is in center field. Brandon Marsh has the day off. Now, I get it. You're facing Rich Hill, left-handed pitcher. You want righties in the lineup, but you can't just every single day sit some of your better hitters. Stott, Marsh has been really good. Realmuto's starting to come out of it a little bit, and Realmuto's a righty, but it's more of the Stott Marsh thing. Like, you can't sit them every time there's a lefty on the mound. You just cannot do it. And Rich Hill is not even that good of a lefty this year. He's got a 7-10 record, a 4.82 ERA, a 1.47 whip. Like, he's not terrible, but he's not a Cy Young candidate. He has 97 strikeouts in 114 innings. He's given up 14 home runs and 44 walks in those 114 innings. So more than one every 3 innings there. I hate this lineup by Rob Thomson. Now, here's why he's doing it, right? And I told you he was going to do this because this team's sights are set on the playoffs. You don't want to burn guys out. It feels like we're getting closer and closer and closer to crunch time, and we are. I mean, tomorrow's the final day of July, August right around the corner, and then you have a 2-month sprint to the postseason in a stacked wild card race. We're not quite in crunch time yet, and the Phillies are in the middle of the stretch where they're playing 17 games in 17 straight days. I'm going to mention that for the next 2 weeks because they're going to be playing every single day. And I said it before the stretch happened. We've already seen in stretches where they'll play 5 or 6 games straight that Rob Thomson likes to sit these guys to get them ample rest to make sure he's trying to improve or maintain the health of this ball club. I said it coming into the stretch. You're going to see a lot of instances where Rob Thomson puts out a lineup where you're like, why is this guy resting? Why aren't you playing him? You need your best hitters in the lineup. They're going to look like give-up lineups. I'm not defending him for doing this. I'm telling you, get used to it because during this 17 games and 17-day stretch, we're going to see this. We're only a couple games into this stretch, and he's already resting Stott, Marsh, Realmuto. It's just how he handles the team. Now, the young guys, I think you got to let play. Bryson Stott and Brandon Marsh are young and healthy and athletic, and they can go out there and they can play every day. They can. I promise. They're built for this. Like, those are the guys that should be playing every day. If you want to get Schwarber a day off, if you want to get Castellanos a day off, if you want to get Real Muto a day off, I understand that. But, man, I just hate seeing you sit some of your best hitters. Stott's been really, really good this series. He's got 5 hits in this series already, and you're sitting him down? Like, I don't get it. He hits lefties fine. He's fine against lefties. But just Rob Thomson did not want to play him today, and it looks like one of those Sunday give-up lineups. Hopefully it doesn't play out that way. Hopefully you can go out and beat the Pirates even without your best lineup, and you can win this series and guys get an off day. But, like, when you put out a lineup like this, you're taking a chance. You're gambling on the fact that you can beat the Pittsburgh Pirates without your best players on the field. And I understand the key is to deliver a team healthy to the postseason, but you have to get there, and you want to be the top wildcard seed. And while I did say in the first segment that's a positive that the Phillies have a much higher ceiling than where they're playing at right now, if some players start to figure it out, it's also certainly possible that things could go wrong. I don't know, man. Like, Nick Castellanos doesn't hit, Trey Turner doesn't hit, someone else goes cold, and next thing you know, you go on a bad stretch where you lose like 5 of 6. A couple other teams in the wild card race are hot, and next thing you know, you're 3 games out. Like, that could happen over the course of a week, and the Philadelphia Phillies, or rather I should say Rob Thomson, don't seem to be too worried about that. Now, maybe it'll work out. I'm not saying, oh, fire Rob Thomson because he set this lineup in August or July. It's not even August yet. I am just saying that, 1, I don't agree with how often he's going to rest guys over this stretch. But 2, we better get used to it because this is not the last lineup that'll look like a second-rate lineup compared to what the Phillies could be trotting out over the course of this 17 games and 17-day stretch. Now, the careers against Rich Hill, who's pitching for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Kyle Schwarber is 2 for 12 against him, 167 with a home run. Nick Castellanos 0 for 12 career against Rich Hill. He's never gotten a hit off of him. Bryce Harper 2 for 10. Trey Turner is actually really good against Rich Hill historically. He's 7 for 15 in his career, batting 467 with a home run against Rich Hill. Maybe this is a day that Turner breaks out. Seeing a pitcher, it seems he sees very well. Edmundo Sosa has only faced him twice. Josh Harrison is 3 for 11, 273. So the only guy that has seen Rich Hill that's had real success against him so far in their careers is Trey Turner. Bohm, Stubbs, and Rojas have never faced Rich Hill. And Rich Hill is like 43 years old. Like, the guy is almost, he wears number 44. He's almost the same age as his number. So you're not going to, like, don't do this to me, Phillies. Please don't go out and lose a series to the Pirates by losing to a 43-year-old Rich Hill. It's a beautiful Sunday out. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping. Everything's nice in the world right now. Go win a ball game for me, please. I know it's not your best lineup, but make your manager look smart, I guess, or it looks like he got away with one by setting this lineup, because I'm not a fan of what Rob Thomson has done today with this Sunday lineup. And I'm also not a fan of the fact that Nick Castellanos is still batting second. Now, with Stott sitting, I don't know who else in the lineup you would put at second. Alec Bohm, maybe. I don't know. But Stott could bat there for sure. And if he's sitting, I guess I get why you put Nick Castellanos there. But the guy's 0 for 12 career against Rich Hill. He's like 1 for his last 20 plate appearances. He's just in a really bad stretch right now. And you're putting him up near the top of the order where he just has the opportunity to kill rallies. If he comes through, I'd be glad to sound like an idiot who doesn't know what he's talking about when Nick Castellanos has his like 3 for 4 day today. But I question still putting him in the 2-hole while you're sitting Bryson Stott, because you need to get guys rest 2 games into a long stretch. I don't know, man. I don't love the lineup, but hopefully the Philadelphia Phillies will prove me wrong. Again, first pitch today, 1:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time out there in Pittsburgh. You can listen to every pitch of the Phillies' hometown radio broadcast of their game against the Pirates on the SiriusXM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies. So that's my thought on the lineup. I'm going to record another episode later today after the game to put out on Monday. So hopefully it's me making fun of myself for having any worries about the team today, but I can't help but be annoyed with the lineup that Rob Thomson has put together for this series ender in Pittsburgh. Coming up, though, I'm not annoyed at all with the president of baseball operations of this team, the POBO, Dave Dombrowski. I'll tell you why what he's doing is right and why patience is a virtue when it comes to trade deadlines in sports and especially Major League Baseball. We'll discuss that as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. All right, one more time. I'll let you know. The Phillies take on the Pirates 1:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can listen to every pitch of the Phillies hometown radio broadcast of that game on the Sirius XM app. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies, and you can pull that all up there. Now, the Phillies have yet to make a move ahead of the trade deadline. I do owe an apology real quick while we're talking trade deadline. I don't know how I blanked on Aroldis Chapman being traded like weeks ago and listing him as a possible option for the Phillies. Hey, maybe the Rangers will trade him again. No, I don't think they're going to do that. They just went and got Max Scherzer. They're clearly buying. So my apologies. I don't think the Phillies will be acquiring Aroldis Chapman. That's on me. Must have missed that report somewhere. And I'll tell you what did it. I saw a video of him throwing this weird, like 103-mile-an-hour pitch that moved like a screwball almost, which was just nasty. And the Rangers were wearing their powder blue uniforms. And I thought it was a Royals uniform because I saw the light blue. It looked more like Royal colors, but it was an alternate uniform for the Texas Rangers. So that's what I'm putting the fault on for that. But again, apologies for including him in my trade deadline special episode. But Dave Dombrowski hasn't done anything yet. The Phillies have not made a move yet, and they're waiting. And I've told you this, I've mentioned it before, but patience is an absolute virtue for this type of thing. Okay? You're going to overpay the earlier you make trades. The later you make trades, the better of the deal you're going to get. And now, I will say I was hoping the Phillies had some type of splash move in them at the trade deadline. It doesn't look like they do. Some of the biggest names are coming off the market. Scherzer's moved. Verlander looks like he's potentially going to the Dodgers. Giolito's already moved. Like, these guys are going like all over the place. The big names that are going to get traded seem to have already been moved. Now, maybe there's something late. Like maybe a Nolan Arenado move is coming down somewhere. And I'm not saying the Phillies, but I'm just saying there may still be other big name guys available. Maybe Juan Soto ends up getting moved by the San Diego Padres. Something in the 11th hour that one of those big names, a team swoops in and gets them. And I'm not saying it can't be the Phillies. I just don't expect them to make a huge splash move. But they still need to add a starter, another reliever, a guy that could play left field that's more of a veteran. Dave Dombrowski's being patient, though. And I think that's the prudent way to approach it because they have assets. They can make moves for some of these guys that have already been traded. Like you could have made a lot of the deals that have already been done across baseball. Clearly, Dave Dombrowski has a general idea of faith in this team that he doesn't think he needs to add that much. And for that reason, he can get guys that are still valuable at the last second before the deadline for a lower price to open up the window, to still have assets to make moves in future seasons because the window is not just this year for the Philadelphia Phillies. And it also, I think the Atlanta Braves have something to do with the strategy that the Phillies are employing right now. You do have to account for the fact that the best team in baseball is in your division, in your league, look like a juggernaut. It's hard to look at that and say, okay, this is the year to go all in because, I don't know, Trey Turner's not having a great year. Kyle Schwarber had some down stretches. You need to still shore up the rotation. Maybe Andrew Painter will be back late next year if Tommy John goes quickly. I don't know, all that stuff. But my point is, I don't think Dave Dombrowski thinks this is the Phillies' paramount chance to win a World Series. I think he still thinks they're contenders, but he might feel that they'll have a better shot next year or could have a better shot next year, so he doesn't want to completely empty the tank for like a rental for this season. I don't know that I 100% agree with that, but I don't totally blame him either. I just think that the longer you wait, the better for the deals you're going to get. And if you have a veteran GM like Dave Dombrowski who you can trust to know what he's doing, then you should be patient with what your team is doing. And I think that's where the Philadelphia Phillies stand right now. So just a reminder to be patient with all the potential moves that could be coming. I do think the Phillies still have plenty of moves up their sleeve. We'll just see what they work out, and we'll probably be hearing that news late on Monday. And that'll be the time frame for deals to get done. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Thank you so much for checking us out. Again, make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube. Really appreciate anyone who does that or who has done that. And I will talk to you next time on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.